Okay, for people who are joining this live stream, we are back again for another look at calculus and algebra functionality in the next version of Wolfram Language. So where have we got to? We were looking at these...
You need to open that in 12x kernel.
Right.
And there was some, just don't open graphics section. At least yesterday it crashed the front end.
Yeah, right. Okay, all right. Do we have...
So I think Jeremy is here too.
Yes. Yeah. Is he?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so we're looking for a design for these creatures. Okay. So do you really think... Okay, so I've got...
So let me just explain meta, a little bit of reasoning behind it. So these are different than summary blurbs, which are very big, sort of you expect one per line or something like that. These will be nestled into expressions.
Yeah,
all over the place. So they need to be fairly small.
These previously were these root objects, but now, so each one of these, if we ask, what is it?
Right, if you look at the tooltip, it'll show you what the old input form was, or actually still is.
Yeah, okay. Okay, right. So that's what this is representing, okay?
Right.
And it's doing it in a more useful way because it's saying the approximate numerical value.
Exactly. And you see, one of the things there, those three dots indicates it's an infinite number. You're just seeing the initial segment.
I know.
Of it.
I'm not convinced.
Jeremy might not know that.
Yeah, right. But I'm not convinced about that. I don't think that that's right. Because you know what? When we have, when we say this, yeah, that's an infinite number as well. But we just...
No, but you can't get any more numbers. Given that number, you can't get anything more. That's it. You have to have... That has to be around pi then. This lies the illusion.
I see.
There's a difference. That is a finite truncated number.
Okay. By the way, we got a bunch of loud sound, I think, when you're on, Roger. Okay. So the first problem here is that square root thing makes it look like it's the square root of this. So that's clearly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I mean, is that square root thing really the right? I mean, we could just say root. We could say the word root, small. Roger?
I wanted something visual, and I don't think saying root does that. That's why I didn't go that route. There is something else, which we can't do now because the tail is too long to figure out. So we can demo it. So we have something else that's called numerical approximation. And that will take anything numeric Q, exact number, I think.
Yeah.
And it will take anything that's numeric Q and coalesce it into a symbol like this. You know what I'm saying? Where you get the numerical approximation.
Okay, let me look at, what about scientific notation cases? What's happening with those here?
I mean, you'll get those.
Yeah, but what is it? So I mean, if I do that, if I say root, hash 1 minus 10 to the 50th,
probably complain about
probably evaluate.
You need to make it exact.
What's that?
You need to make it exact and make it degree at least 3 so that it doesn't simplify.
Okay. All right. So that's going to get a little bit wild and funky when it's a complex number, isn't it? Is it going to have separate? It's going to have separate things for each real and imaginary part, right?
Well, it'll share the exponent. I'm pretty sure, right? So I think, I mean, it'll do whatever number form does, right? So if you do...
Just multiply that by something that's...
It probably won't share the exponent because it can be a different scale on imaginary and
oh,
real part.
Yeah.
Right. So those guys,
How do I get it to go inside?
Root reduce.
Yeah, I don't think it has any choice but to do that.
You're right.
Okay. All right. So what you're describing is that there's a an arbitrary approximate number thing. And what's the closest to this in terms of, for example, quantities or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, this is a way. I think pi is sort of the closest to it, right? It's a represent or square root of 2 on some level, right? This is an arbitrary.
I understand that. I'm asking in terms of typesetting. Right. So what we do here is it's white. It has slightly different color, and it has a mouse over. So here, what we're trying to do is to represent an exact number. I mean, in this gray background thing, what else do we have that is kind of like gray background?
Well, we have time objects, and date objects.
Let's take a look at those. Okay, so let's say time object. Well, let's just say 3 p.m. That is really ugly in formatting. That's a separate thing. Can we wait. Do I need to report that? Somebody should tell Nick that. That's really a misformatting. Okay.
What's the problem?
03 is wrong. Okay. Do I need to tell that to Nick? I'll tell that to Nick. Okay, so in any case, okay, so that's a case where we have a background. I mean, I have to say I'm not that wild about these things. I think they're rather heavy.
I like those. I think that they give you a sense of what the heck is going on at a glance.
Well, it depends where you're seeing them. You know, if you see a table of 10 of these, it's a bit heavy.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, it's also the case that just like with images, we could in principle have a form of these that elides more. I mean, just like if we have if we do random image, 50-50 or something. Oops. I don't even know what that's doing.
You need the.
Okay, but anyway, so if I do that, and then I do table of that, comma 10. Oh, that's surprising. Maybe these are already small. I'm surprised those didn't get smaller.
Well, graphics does that. I'm not sure image. Well,
no, image does that. Image absolutely does that.
That's true.
It absolutely does that. And those must not be small enough. I mean, those must already be small enough or something. Okay, so in any case, it does that and so on. So we could imagine something with these somewhat heavier forms that lighten up when they go in lists and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's come back to this. So this is a darker gray, which I don't really understand. And the point there is this is a number. And what Roger is saying is there's going to be future numeric approximation type things that work for arbitrary exact numbers.
Right.
Okay, so we have to invent something.
Right. And so one question we have to ask is, right, so basically I think all I've implemented is root. But of course, right, there's also algebraic number and, right, we have various representations of, a way to represent an exact number. And to what extent do we want to tell you which representation you're using, right? That little radical there is to tell you you're using a root representation as opposed to...
Well, what the heck would your icon be for an algebraic number?
I think it should be the same, really. Because they're both algebraic number. They're just different heads. Doesn't matter.
Okay, well, so what's another example?
Right.
I mean, are you imagining that if there's a giant rational number that it could be represented in this way too?
We weren't, actually.
Okay, so what's an example? So some complicated radical expression.
Yeah, or just sort of, when you solve transcendental problems like integration and differential equations and difference equations and so on, you get a lot of numbers out. There are sort of instances of special functions and other things in pi's and e's and all of these things.
I don't think we want to elide those.
I think we do, because they will then show the structure of the big
That's a
expression.
different thing. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Doing common sub-expressions and so on, I think that's a different problem of
No, but it is not common sub-expression. This is it's a more involved discussion. Okay, so there are there are some functions that actually care about the structure of numbers, and so we've gone through and, for instance, made sure that they are aware of this new representation. This is for 12.1, not for 12 that I'm talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
And they auto combine, like roots do not.
Okay.
And it allows for a lot more clarity in the resulting formulas, a lot of more insight immediately.
Okay, but Roger, I think that's in the category of things like code folding. I mean, it's look, that is similar to iconize. I mean, you could say the same thing about a big block of code.
I think that initially people were very kind of proud of the fact that they could generate long formulas. I think we now view it as noise.
I think people still like it, so I'm not there yet. So, I mean, and by the way, I hope for 12.0 that we're doing better than this list thing. We've redone these, haven't we, Jeremy?
There's a proposal. It's blocking on me actually to review it. So we had some iterations, and Billy sent me an upgraded draft a couple of weeks ago, and I just haven't had time to look at it. So I mean, this won't happen before ICM, but it'll happen before release.
No, the other fine, Stephen, we don't intend this other exact number to be automatic. It will be generated by some functions, but generally speaking, you have to explicitly do it yourself. So,
by the way, I like that mechanism. I'd never seen that before. The uniconized mechanism there. Did you see that? That's new.
Yes.
It's nice. It's very nice. I think that minus is a little coarse looking, and certainly, this whole behavior here.
Let's not waste time on this. There's a new proposal coming that we'll show you, and
okay, fine.
We've had this conversation before.
Okay, all right. Okay, so in any case, there's some kind of approximate number form that will be similar to this form, which happens to be root generated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This one is simpler from all the sort of infrastructure support point of view because it's just a typesetting.
I understand, but the point about it is that you're going to need an iconic form that represents this is an exact number, but I'm only showing you the approximate version of it.
Yes,
right? That's what you mean.
Right.
Yep.
And this is one where the structure of that number happens to be root or algebraic number related, and it could also be a transcendental root.
It could, yes.
Right, and so one question was, well,
but they're all roots, you know.
They're all roots. Although one question is, you know, do we want to sort of group algebraic number and algebraic roots with one icon, and then, you know, transcendental roots with some
No. I don't think we need separate.
No, but okay, look. Okay, Jeremy, we need an idea here. So first of all, I think the ... dots will be helped by being gray.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ... is really not that important. It's just, you know, truth in advertising, so to speak, if I made sense.
That's true.
Yes.
And the real problem is, first of all, you know, this gray background, what is it supposed to remind us of?
Well, it's supposed to remind us of, like, objecty things, right?
The
like
closest thing, okay, but I mean, the other thing that it is somewhat close to is iconize.
Right. It's also, I believe, the same gray used by summary boxes. Right. So if you do sparse array of 1, 2, 3.
That's your simplest. It's actually not the same gray.
You're right.
Okay.
It should be. I mean, we can fix that.
Right. And you're certain, I see, you're keen to have something which is a small object like that root sign rather than the word root.
Yes. Because you're going to have many of these in a formula.
I understand. All right. Okay. Jeremy, how do we, maybe you could mock something up, but how do we deal with the problem of this looking like a square root there? See what I'm saying?
I'm working on that. I think the shape of it actually might help a little bit. Let me show you what I have. I mean, I don't know what to do with the other version of this that's, you know, not...
I think we need to discuss that once we get a little further. We can demo, and because we're still working through scenarios. It's just more global.
How are you sending this to me, Jeremy?
I can just mail it.
Or do you want to share?
I'd rather mail it.
Okay. Okay, but the thing...
Okay, you should have it.
I don't have it yet. I don't have it now. Yeah, I thought about that as well.
I think the circle helps a lot, actually. And the smaller one's nice. I don't know that we need the blue. The gray it's there and marks it. But, you know, you can't see the blue through the connect session, but it's
I like the circle, Jeremy. It's nice.
Yeah, I think to me it doesn't flow in as well. It's more obvious it's a separate type of information. So yeah, I think it works.
So like this one here is what you're proposing?
Yeah, I like that one. The smallest, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too. I didn't know how to create that icon myself, or I might have tried to.
Okay, did that lighten up? Did you lighten up the gray background there or not?
I didn't. I lightened up the dots, but I didn't light up the gray yet. But it'll be a subtle effect.
And the font size is being inherited from the outside, right?
I think so.
Okay.
But I can't swear to that. I'd have to look at it.
Okay. I think those dots should go even smaller and lighter.
Okay.
I would be fine with that. I think
size a little bit, yeah. Okay.
Nice tweak.
Just in particular to avoid the big space before the I and things like this there. Because the majority of these things, I don't know, we could probably figure out some mathematical argument for what fraction of these things will be complex numbers, but it's a very large fraction. Right?
Yeah.
And we are sure that we need dots on both the real and imaginary parts.
Yes.
We're sure about that. We're sure we can't have some other way of... Okay, so I'm going to make a different possible argument. Okay? What about the possibility of having a tilde before the thing, rather than having dots at all? So have something like this.
Oh, approximate type.
Yeah, we prototyped that. We decided we liked the dot over. Let me see if I still have that notebook handy for you to see.
By the way, if we did that, that would give us an immediate way to deal with the other approximate number thing. And I think that, you know, I would argue, and Jeremy, maybe you could help try and make this. If you put that guy in a circle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, and then maybe somehow, what's that?
That could work.
But then how do you get the root thing in there?
Well,
Need to have the root in there, especially if we are going to extend it to arbitrary numeric things.
I'm not certain that the root is a good idea. I mean, I think the root may actually be confusing rather than, especially since there are multiple different things, root, algebraic, number, etc.
Right.
Let's try the lighter gray, this thing in a circle, no dots.
then people are going to think it's approximate numbers. They're exact numbers. It's a huge difference.
Well, why do they think there's a big gray blob there? This doesn't say exact number to me. The ... does not say exact number to me. If you want to indicate exact number...
Yeah, we should try it. We could try it.
How can we indicate an exact number? Well, let's let Jeremy try that. Okay, while he's trying that, let's go on and discuss other things we have to discuss here. Can we scroll down here? The constant C thing we talked about yesterday, I think, and I think that's okay, except that I strongly think that should say C of 1. We agree?
Yes, the tooltip, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Should I look at one of these ref pages?
You can. You don't have to, but you can.
What is this minus? What the heck is this? That's the number of examples that have been removed from there, or?
Yeah.
They've moved from those to the correct section. I mean, what is more appropriate with the new design. So things which were scope are moved from property relation to scope.
So the point of these examples, Stephen, they showcase we have a hell of a lot more than just numerical evaluation of special functions.
Yes.
Anybody can build a numerical special functions library these days. But we have much richer support, and this shows you the tools and that support, more like a handbook of special functions.
Let me see one of these pages. Let's pick.
I think you want to go to the earlier area, perhaps. That's a good one.
No, I'm going to pick the one I'm going to pick.
Okay, fine.
Don't try to make Stephen pick.
No. That's a different list. That's the only thing. So that's okay. No problem.
It's just, that's a losing battle.
So that one is the fairly traditional. So now under scope.
No, that's what I said, Stephen, that this is another list. We have 250 of them. We've done 100 of them so far. My list is a little above this function domain, and you need to look at the...
yeah, it's the wrong list, Stephen.
That's all I said, yeah.
I know,
fine.
So I'm looking at Area AI.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
Fine.
Just like you told me to.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
What? Well, this is... I mean, okay. It just feels like, getting something like this in there with timings and so on is very, before we're doing a lot of other stuff in the scope thing, just seems kind of wrong.
It's numerical evaluation. It's a subsection.
No, I understand.
One of the key features of special function is their ability to do high precision evaluation.
No, I agree, but that separator shouldn't be there.
Yes, it should. It will go away in the build.
Okay.
It will go away in the build. Don't take it out.
I won't. I'm not touching anything. I'm not touching anything. That's beautiful. I didn't know that's what the area function looked like in the complex plane.
We done it for every function in this list of 100, and 150 more coming for 12.1. Then there are nth derivatives as well.
Okay. We need some kind of, well, whatever. I mean, it's kind of so ugly to have to put that in there. I mean, we could iconize it, but I think that would also be a mistake. Explain to me the principle of this here. I mean, so we have these.
So the point is to show you so a little bit like we did for distribution. So a distribution on its own is pretty useless. A special function is less It's more useful on its own because it has automatic numerical evaluation properties. But really what you need to know is all the other functions that operate and work with special functions.
No, I understand.
How to get this function domain, how to solve equations,
Yeah.
you know, all the properties, all these properties that you need to get and learn about special functions.
Yeah. That's there are a lot of cool things there.
So that shows that we have a much, much richer capability.
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, there's look.
And you can actually learn something. You know, you learn.
Okay. There are three things that I could imagine getting out of this. Okay, one is showing off all the cool stuff we have. Another is becoming a handbook for area AI, and another is how do I do such and such a thing.
Yeah. So the point is to teach people, most people don't know about special function. It's sort of a rare group that do.
Yeah, I understand. But I mean, to me, I want to know about this function. We would be better off in more of a computational essay format.
We can have that too, but you're in the system. You better be able to get the information there.
No, I understand that. But I'm asking, given what you have here, could it be refactored easily for a computational essay that basically is a little bit more narrative about what, I mean, you know, we've tried to do these function essays, which I would say are not particularly successful, and I don't think have been done for special functions, have they?
I don't know.
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, I mean, my suggestion would be, and I've already said this, that those function essays be turned into computational essays. And here, what I could imagine with the array function is, you know, a little bit of narrative that says, you know, I don't know what it was, you know, George Airy invented it in studying the motion of the moon, and it shows up in a bunch of differential equations of this type. And then, you know, those kinds of things. And then here's a plot of it and so on.
I think there's room for that too, but I don't think that takes away from.
No, I agree. But I'm just saying to you, given all the work you've done here, could you simply refactor that fairly easily as a computational essay using essentially the same examples?
I don't think so, because you need to actually add that history research, the application research and so on. And this is just scope sections.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right. Clearly, this is not something which goes into the, you know, the computational essay is unlikely to talk about high precision array computation. I'm certainly confused by the way why this isn't area of a half, n of area of a half, comma 500.
Could be.
Well, it's nice to see all this detail. I mean, it's definitely nice to expose all this stuff.
It's not complete. It's one aspect of better promoting the special functions and make them learnable and usable.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it's great. Okay, should we go back to...
I just mailed you, Stephen.
Okay.
It's hard to see.
What's hard to see?
The tildes.
They are right now, yeah.
But I think that the smaller ... dots was a definite win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made them as small as possible and still kept them there. They don't take up that much space.
Yeah, they're not so bad there.
Yeah.
Well, the issue, though, the tilde is kind of incomprehensible.
Right, and it at least to me, it's weird to have tilde and ...
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I don't think this is quite working. But But what are we going to do for the general approximate numbers?
Well, I kind of liked your tilde. I didn't think about that. I was thinking of n as a sort of, you know.
Yeah. Well, okay, but so let's see if we can make this work with tilde tilde. Let's see if we can make this one work, which I don't think it quite does yet.
I was thinking if you make that be blue like that square root in the beginning, you can actually pick it out probably just from contrast alone. I think that's the problem now. There's no...
Jeremy, you want to try that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, well, I was going to suggest reverse colors, but that's probably too heavy.
That's going to be, yes.
You can try it. You can try it.
I did. It was, yeah, it just makes little dots everywhere. It was a little too heavy.
That's what you had in this thing here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Are there other things we can discuss while we're... I think we have a meeting coming up, right, which we could... yeah, I don't know why we're actually breaking this out of the generated variables meeting has... Oh, it doesn't have the same set of people in it. It's coming up at the half-hour mark here. Okay, what else should we look at? Anything else to look at here?
I think you have covered everything now, Stephen.
Okay. What about the selection? So your proposal for 12 is to actually go to default the output for root to be displayed in this form. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. For numerical roots, right? Obviously, if there are parameters in there, there's nothing we can do.
So then it would just be the root object again.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't disagree. I think this is quite nice. I think it's definitely more useful than what we had before. Is there any possibility that the numerics could be hard to resolve, or is the numerics stored in the internal representation anyway?
It's stored anyway.
Okay.
You should have the update, Stephen.
Yeah, that was actually my very first question to Adam. Will n ever fail me?
I shouldn't, yeah.
Those colors don't come through at all through the Zoom session. I could mail this out.
Yeah. I also think that that space is too small there. I think it needs a little bit more breathing room there.
Okay. Yep.
For some reason, this is not quite doing it for me. What would happen? Can you make the circle a little bigger so it's closer to the edges of that, the border of the region?
I started there, but it was looking too prominent to me.
I see.
That first round, there's a couple that have bigger circles, and I didn't seem that nice.
I like that one, where your mouse is.
Yeah. Well, let's try. I mean, can we try that, Jeremy? Just with the tilde. I mean, the problem is the tilde is a slightly more complex form than the square root. We might have to tweak the tildes so they have more waviness to them.
Which one were you pointing at? I was in Photoshop.
This one here. You
okay. Yeah. Let me pull it up.
By the way, I think it's good that you're showing that case with a minus sign there, because I think that case is worse than the case with a number with a plus sign there.
Mm-hmm.
But we probably want to try both cases. Okay. All right. While we're waiting for that, anything else we can look at here?
I think we've covered everything at this point.
Okay. All right. So we were... Oh, great.
That was that graphic.
Yeah, well, anyway, okay. All right. For the next meeting, by the way, we're talking about generated parameters. I guess that's a bunch of people. Let's not do the intro to that meeting yet. All right. Should we wait for Jeremy for a little while here?
Give me about 3 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
Real-time graphics design.
Yeah. Well, it makes the. That's how come we actually get these things done in reasonable time. If we were going back and forth with 2-week, turnaround and people being confused about what was being asked, it's much faster.
Both sides, yeah, it's easier for me too, actually. Okay, you should have it.
Okay. Okay, that's this one you're proposing here?
Yeah, and the next one over is a little bigger. Same thing, same size tildes, but this bigger circle.
I think I prefer the bigger circle.
Okay.
Did you put the more space between the circle and the beginning of the number?
Oh, pixel on the first one. The other one I did is there's a little more space on the second one. I just added a pixel to the first one, but it actually made a difference.
Is there any other shape that you can imagine other than that circle there?
Rounded rect, maybe, and like with big radius. But the rounded corners help since it's inside of this rounded rect already.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, the only reason that square root didn't work is because it means, it has a square root, but whereas this actually is supposed to be read, whereas this is not supposed to be read, square root of blah, 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 this is supposed to be read approximately equal to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we could get away with a rounded rect and it would look just as good. I don't think a square would work.
Okay. Well, try it. I mean, my other question is, should this be black? Because this is kind of an ephemeral number. And it almost feels like if that was slightly gray, that would help distinguish this from being what's really there. So, because the communication is, it's approximately this kind of gloss number, so to speak. It's not, that number is not the whole story. That number is just the, the representation, the shadow of what's really going on, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Which suggests it perhaps shouldn't be black.
Yeah.
I mean,
how gray. I mean, it matters like how gray it is.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm wondering whether it could be something where it's a little bit less emphasized. The box is a little bit less emphasized, but the grayness of the number is more the story, and it's tilde, tilde, some stylized tilde, tilde, and then a somewhat gray number. I even think it's possible that the number should be down a font size from the main, from these main things here. Because really, this is just an indicator number. It's not, what's really there.
Right.
Let me see if I can't do that real quick.
Somebody is asking on the live stream, I hope these images are vector-based. Absolutely. This is just us trying to mock it up. The real thing is absolutely vector-based, will be absolutely vector-based, without question.
Yeah, and the actual square root, the current icon that I implemented is in fact exactly a graphics expression. So it's, will look as beautiful as your display allows.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, should we wait a little bit for Jeremy to come up with the next iteration?
And Itai too.
Okay. Okay. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, what can I play with here? By the way, for the next meeting about generated variables, I don't know whether we already have the inventory of where isn't this coming up? Help. Did I kill this completely? I'm trying to, oh, there we go. So tell me, did we agree that this is a bug down here? That
So I discussed that with Chris, and I mean, it's the bug is that it's not respecting your auto hide settings, which is a known issue, and is on the to do list to be fixed.
Which Chris? What auto hide settings? What?
Right. So your Mac OS has auto hide scroll bar settings.
Okay.
Which defaults to automatically hide scroll bars, and it's not respecting that.
I see.
Right, but yeah, I mean, the reason it seemed to not be doing anything, I realized after our conversation yesterday, was because you weren't in a cell that was too wide, right? The horizontal scroll only has an effect when your cursor is inside a cell that's too wide. So.
Tell me a cool here. I'm just going to. I just want to see some things in the wild, so to speak. How do I generate a good random polynomial? Okay, so that's going to generate a bunch of those. Oh, that's interesting. There are ones that have more digits. So you're doing basically 3-digit precision here. Except for these ones, which aren't 3-digit precision for some reason.
Well, that's just right. That's just number form.
Okay.
Right.
That's kind of ugly. I mean, is that 1 point ... minus whatever? Is that an exact 1 point? Do you think?
It may well be.
Then why is it saying 1 point?
Well, because they're machine numbers now, right? So,
okay.
Right. I mean,
yeah. I think honestly, I think it's we're the wrong way around here. I think the numbers should be slightly gray. I don't think there should be. The gray background kind of pops the numbers out, which is exactly the opposite of what should be going on. It's just like there is a thing here. It's I mean, I do like the fact that this is comparatively. Let's just try a much even bigger case of this.
Actually, you are looking at the preview of the exact number wrapper around everything. So as you see, there is no radical in front of it. So that's the, if you look at the input form, it's exact number of that.
Okay. Okay. I'm just looking at cases of this. Okay. So, I mean, so the point is these don't have any tildes in them. And I don't think
we didn't design it for them. I mean, we didn't design an icon so you could pick it out.
Yeah, I understand. Why exactly, again, do we need the tilde?
We wanted it to indicate, we wanted to tell you that this is an exact number, but it's printed as approximate.
Right. Okay, so we've got 2 ways we can think of to do that. I mean, we've got the graying it out 3 ways. The graying it out, the ... and the tilde.
and I don't know that just graying it out is enough. It may help, but I think you need just graying out doesn't tell me, oh, this is actually an exact guy. I think you need either tilde or ellipsis.
Right. Okay. Are we Are we going to get something here, Jeremy? Or
Yeah, I'm mailing you right now. Okay, just sent it.
okay, so what are we seeing here? Again, I think this is going to take.
Okay, so you have rounded rects. What are the variation?
So the first one's a little bigger color. You can't see the blue very much, but it's the bigger version with color than rounded rect of the same. And then the second set's a little smaller font size for the numbers and a little grayer.
I have a great desire to click that button.
Yeah. Looks very similar to our alpha logo or symbol. A little too much.
Yeah. All right, look, I don't think we've quite solved this yet. I mean, what I'm suggesting is lose the gray background, right? Go gray with the numbers and lose most of the gray background.
Okay, here, I can show you what it looks like one size smaller. If you want to see that, yeah, I'll need to share.
Okay, go ahead.
Zoom is giving me the spinning beach ball of doom. Okay, there it goes. All right, so all these have this one's a special, ignore that one, but all of these guys have one size smaller, and they've made it just very slightly gray. I can make it more gray because I can't tell that that's gray.
Yeah,
actually.
I would make it more gray, and I would lose the background gray. Can you change the background gray?
Yeah. Okay, so
I think it helps to have it smaller.
It does, actually.
Okay, so that's forcing a white background. I mean, we could try making it transparent or...
No, white is fine. I mean, I think white is fine. I don't think there's any reason to have gray there.
Okay. Yeah, I actually kind of like this. I thought we needed the gray, but looking at this now...
Okay, now the question is, do we even need... do we need any icon there, and do we need the ... dots?
So the two things that they were communicating up until now was the icon said, this is the type of number. It's a root thing. Second, the ... said, this is really an infinite number, and you're just seeing initial segments of it.
Yes.
Infinite precision, I mean.
I don't know whether that really communicates that. That's the problem. Okay, so listen, look, I think this is pretty decent. I think removing the icon, having the ... dots might be the best we can do.
Okay.
With a smaller size and so on.
Yep.
So let's give that to Jeremy. You guys can talk about it some more, but that would be my initial take.
Okay.
All right, I think that's that for this meeting. Okay, those who are on the live stream, we're actually going to go to another meeting about a somewhat related topic about generated variables in just a moment here. So if you will wrap up on this one, and we will restart the next one. So hope to see you all there.